Rare! Smashjt! He said some very mean things about us. He must be one of those patriotic bigoted Yahtzees. I'm going to report this channel under the guise of hate speech.
And you know something, ladies and gentlemen? When I see certain people on YouTube use and abuse the report button like a sledgehammer, I have no tolerance and no respect for those types of people. I have no tolerance, because pushing the report button under the guise of hate speech or slander or whatever, it only messes up the channel. So instead of doing something like that, falsely reporting the user, I think the person in topic should instead tell their side of the story, or alternatively have a friendly debate with the person who put up that video. But no, Collector Shouts wasn't down with that. They thought it would be justifiable to use and abuse the report button to mess with smashjt's channel. And that's not just all what Collector Shout has done. They also tried, like a few months ago, to take away not safe for work material off of Steam through Visa and MasterCard. Luckily, Mr. President Trump swooped in like Superman and saved the day. And ladies and gentlemen, are you curious about, where people like Collector Shouts comes from? Because I have an idea actually. So, let's get down the memory lane and let me tell you about when I went to school in the late 2000s, mid 2010s, when I noticed a sudden educational shift in the educational system. Now, I remember in the late 2000s, back when I was attending school, in my teen days, and I remember I attended these, what do you call them, sociology? Social study courses? Something like that. And I want to make something very clear for the record. These courses, I didn't take them as part of a job or profession. No, these courses were included as part of my education. We had math, PE, Swedish, because this is Sweden, this is Sweden. And what more did we have? We had cooking classes. Yeah. I also had cooking classes. These courses, that is, sociology if I remember that correctly, were included as part of my education and was not something I took as a profession or as a trade profession or anything like that. Just to let you know. And I remember that the teacher produced a newspaper or something like that, and she read up a few excerpts, and after she was done reading some of those excerpts and sections, she said to us something to the effect of, this research came out this year. This was not 2 or 3 or 5 years ago. This research came out this year. It is proof right here that gender in the head is more important than gender between your legs. It's proof right here. This research proves that there is no big difference between men and women. Men and women are basically the same and can do the same thing. And it proves that biology isn't that important after all. Gender is all in the head, not between your legs. And do you know what I did back then? I actually believed her. Why? Put simply, I was her student, and she was my teacher. And what should a student do when they are in the presence of a teacher? The student listen, and pay attention. And simply do what they're told. And that's why I never questioned what my teachers taught me or told me what to do. It is that simple. And ladies and gentlemen, do you know what happened afterwards? Sometime later in the early 2010s, I discovered Mr. Internet Aristocrat, he was called back then. And then I discovered the Gamergate movement. With the whole Mighty No. 9 drama that was going on. Mighty No. Nope. And when I found Internet Aristocrat's videos and Mighty No. Nope and the Gamergate movement, then I started to piece together that my teachers had, in fact, lied to me. I felt like I'd been had. And here I am, in my 30s, and I regret 100 million times that I listened to her and her pseudoscientific ideology, because here we are, as I am in the production of this podvid, late 2025, and those who were of my age group back then, 90s millennials, they're fully grown now. They're adults now with real jobs, and now that they graduated, they are now taking what they learned with them from school and into the workforce. They are now the CEOs. They are now part of the board of directors. They are now part of the head programmers. They are now the directors, whether they be directors in movies or directors of a video game franchise or anything like that. They are now the directors. They are now the script writers, whether they be script writers in a book, video game or movie. They are now the script writers, and most of them are basically in charge now. Almost. Essentially, they're almost replacing the aging baby boomers and aging Gen Xers, essentially. And now that the aging baby boomers are slowly retiring, and a bit of the Gen Xers, now slowly over time, the millennials are starting to be in charge. And when you are a millennial who went to school with sociology courses and gender theory and so and so and so, they are now injecting what they learned from school into the workforce. Because unfortunately, the reality has hit these kids, or back then young people, about that they can't make any real money with gender theory or sociology courses, or something to that effect. But alas, they spent 2 or 4 years and a lot of money studying those types of courses. So what do you do when you spend all of that time and money on the wrong courses? Well, those who graduated with these courses, they write their own books, whether it be fantasy or crime or thriller, what have you, under the lenses of quote-unquote toxic masculinity. And when those stories conclude, the end conclusion to why the perpetrator did all those awful things to those women is a very predictable, he did what he did to those women because of toxic masculinity. It's this patriotic culture. And some who graduate with these courses now write stories for video games where you simply cannot have beautiful people anymore, or very muscular men who are protectors of the weak and innocent, because these courses have taught these people that if a muscular man is trying to protect a woman, a normal civilian woman who's not even a soldier or a warrior, whatever, from the quote-unquote evil invaders who would like to do some awful things to her, then that muscular protective man who's only trying to do the right thing by saving her is now considered chauvinistic and racist, quote-unquote. And I couldn't help but notice that in Elden Ring and in the Oblivion Remastered, they removed male and female in favor of body type A and body type B for some reason. And they also carry that mentality with them about complaining about beautiful video game characters. Oh my god, that fictional character's shirt. Look at her shirt. You can almost see her melons. And as for movies and TV series, those who have graduated with these courses with this mentality now direct, hire actors, write script for movies, where it is becoming progressively and slowly over time more rarer and rarer to see a white guy, a normal straight white guy. This mentality of the Church of Woke has even seeped over into Disney, and heck, one screenwriter at Disney said that she is so tired. She's so tired of writing stories for strong female characters. Overall, I'm immensely disappointed that the movie industry now caters to the wrong audience. The wrong kind of audience that want to chop stuff off and pretend to be a woman or pretend to be a man. And sometimes they're taking alongside those gender theories in the real world, not just in the world of fiction. It wasn't supposed to be like this at first. At first, those who took these types of courses in North America, they figured, oh, I can take this gender theory or sociology courses for 2 years and make 4 or 5 figures, they thought. But now that they're out in the real world, they feel kinda screwed over, that they can't eke out a living with gender theory or sociology courses. And now that they've taken these types of courses for 2 or 4 years, with this new view on reality of bigotry, misogyny, patriarchy, that kind of a lens on reality, and now that they're going outside into the real world, or rather, way back in the early 2010s I should say, And now that they're having real jobs now, what's going on in the workforce now that they graduated with these courses and they're working in real jobs? Well, they are implementing and injecting what they learned in these social study courses and sociology courses into the workforce. So it goes. And now these American students have supposedly these types of student loan debts or what have you that they're not going to be able to pay off until their 40s or 50s. Sadly. Everyone who's listening / watching this podvid, maybe you're asking to yourselves right now, Hybrid, what are you talking about? What does this have to do with collective shouts? And how does this tie in with everything you just talked about? Well, what this has to do with stuff is essentially because I feel that collective shouts is of my generation and may or may not have studied these sociology courses or gender study courses. So it seems to me, or maybe they are early Gen-Zers. Maybe. Now, just to be clear, for the record, not everybody who is a millennial or a Gen-Zer is like that. You know. Oh my god, triggered! I'm so triggered over this cartoon character with large melons. It triggers me. And oh my marks, that man on the bus or the train station, he's manspreading. How disgusting. No, not everybody who is a millennial or a Gen-Zer is like that. You know, who looks at the real world and the world of fiction with gender theory lenses or gender study lenses. Not every millennial and not every Gen-Zer is like that. I know that. And lastly, not everybody who is a feminist is like that. I am somewhat sympathetic to the feminist movement. I mean, in the beginning, like 100 years ago, feminism did have good intentions to make sure that women would be able to, go outside and leave their homes and explore the world. Good intentions. And that sounds like a good thing, and it was back then. But sadly, here we are 100 years later, and feminism has been reinterpreted and tarnished. But just to be clear, for the record, I am not complaining that Collective Shouts is supposedly a feminist millennial group. Supposedly. That's not what I'm complaining about. It's just that I don't think Collective Shouts is putting up a good name when it comes to the whole feminist movement. They are not promoting feminism or putting feminism in a good light. In my subjective opinion, I believe Collective Shouts causes more harm than good, especially for the feminist label. My main issue is not that I heard that Collective Shouts is a feminist group. That is not what my concern is. What my actual concern is that they took a trivial matter, not safe for work material on Steam, drawn fictional cartoon, not safe for work material, and they decided to take the complaints to Visa and MasterCard, and Visa and MasterCard responded by taking away any transaction of said products on Steam. And this annoys me in the fact that Collective Shouts use their influence and power like that to go after something so trivial like that, when they could have instead gone after something more pressing and concerning, I mean, goodness, maybe Collective Shouts isn't aware, or maybe they don't care, that there are kids, actual kids, little girls, out in the real world, in poor, corrupt third world nations, that are suffering right now, who are being passed around in a disgusting way from one adult man to another, or how little girls are being poorly mistreated by the adults around them, or young girls being forced into a bizarre marriage ritual, or how little girls in some parts of the world have their it starts with a C, mutilated in the name of religion of peace. I mean, goodness, little girls are being victimized every day in these third world nations that don't care about human rights, that don't care about being nice to each other, that don't care about community, that don't care about the goodness in people. And as I am in the making of this podvid, 2025, these types of adults in those third world nations are still running amok. But no, Collective Shouts didn't go after those types of people or those types of third world nations. No, instead, they had to go and liberate fictional characters, inanimate, cartoony fictional characters. And do you know what those fictional characters said after Collector Shouts liberated them? Nothing. They said nothing. Why? Because fictional characters are not real, and they cannot give any consent, and they can't speak to us directly. They cannot think, they cannot do anything human like us, like you and me, because fictional cartoon characters are not real. They're just inanimate. They only exist on a piece of paper or as a digital rendering. They're inanimate. But little girls, actual little girls in corrupt, poverty-stricken third world nations are real. And those actual girls can think, can feel, can talk, and should stay in school, and they should be educated. And why didn't Collector Shouts, like I said, go after more pressing matters? Why? Collector Shouts could have, with their power, done good in third world nations if they wanted to. But instead, Collector Shouts went after fictional characters, which I think is a very trivial concern, to go after fictional characters in my opinion, because fictional characters are not real and they cannot give any consent. But little girls in third world nations are real, and they are in danger every day. They're being sold, they're being passed around from one banana to another, cough, cough, and they're being forced to marry some old creepy guy. Why didn't Collector Shouts think about these concerns instead? By the way, do you know what happened afterwards in the whole saga of Visa and MasterCard stopping transactions of not safe for work video games on Steam? To those that don't know or haven't kept up, thankfully, the US president, Mr. Donald Trump, stepped in and he signed some kind of a mandate that would hold sellers responsible or something like that. Essentially, in a nutshell, he swooped in and saved the day. Cue the Superman theme. Now, I have a few minutes left in this pod vid, so for my penultimate statement, I have something I would like to say to Collector Shouts directly, if they are willing to listen. Collector Shouts, you're a feminist group, so I heard. That's not what my main concern is. Good on you, good for you, and I am happy for you, and I'm not going to stop you. You do you. But if you want to be a real feminist group, an actual feminist group, then I would kindly ask of you to please stop go after trivial concerns like like cartoon characters and people who criticize you. People like smashjt. Why would you try to shut down people on YouTube who talk about you and criticize you? And smashjt, he is not fake news. He has shown evidence and about what you're doing and what you're saying, Collector Shouts. He has shown it himself. So no, he is not fake news. So I think it is very trivial of you to try to shut people like him down under the guise of, what did you take down his videos again? Hate speech? Defamation? It was something like that. And to my astonishment, YouTube actually complied, because YouTube, unfortunately, they themselves set up the rules like this. To my immense disappointment. Look, me and smashjt and everyone else who criticize you, they're not bullying you at a school playground. They're not enacting threats of violence against you. They are not holding you up against a wall or anything like that. No, they're just speaking their minds about this. And it is called freedom of speech. And people like you, Collective Shouts, as well as YouTube itself, you're doing your best to make sure that we don't have that anymore here in the West. You're only making matters worse when you try to shut people down that criticize you, who you don't like. You, Collective Shouts, YouTube itself, and our local politicians who support this kind of a stuff are the complete opposite of freedom of speech. In my subjective opinion, I actually don't think any real feminists, those who are of the previous generation, I don't think they would even care about fictional cartoon characters that are not even real, or shutting people down who disagrees with them. No real feminist would support something like that. In my opinion, I think a real feminist, an actual feminist group would travel around the world and do whatever they can to liberate little girls in these tyrannical households, actual tyrannical households in very messy third world nations. But if that is still too hard for you to do, then maybe you should go after, I don't know, Netflix cuties. By the way, I actually heard that you defended cuties, saying things like that it's brave, stunning, and whatever you're saying about it. But why? Why would you defend cuties? I heard from other people that cuties is basically a PDF file's wet dream come true. And I heard you're defending it. You, Collective Shouts, I heard you're defending cuties. Why? I mean, I don't care about cartoon characters, but the show Cuties is not a cartoon. They're real actresses and actors. By the way, Collective Shouts, is it true that you want to introduce adult movies, X-rated movies to kids, to 5-year-olds? Is that true? Or is it fake news? I mean, people are talking about it, and they're opening up your website and so. Is it true? And if it is true, then why would you want to do that? I mean, this goes out to all of the teenagers out there and young adults who watch those types of movies. I have something I would like to say to them. Kiddos, about 90 to 99% of each and every adult movie, would it be one of those corny 80s adult movies or 90s adult movies or what you see on the internet, 90 to 99% of those movies, each and every one of them, are mostly fake. Fake lips, fake rear side, fake melons, fake human behavior. Most of that is fake and played up. and I'm really curious if Collective Shouts themselves know that. I hope they know that. But I think I've gone a little bit long enough now, so I think it's about time for me to wrap this up. So I have one last thing I would like to say, and this message goes out to all of the guys in Collective Shouts, because I've actually heard rumors and murmurs that there may or may not be some quote-unquote male feminists inside of Collective Shouts who may or may not identify as women. And to those supposed quote-unquote male feminists inside of Collective Shouts, I would like to seriously ask those guys, or maybe from men to women, they them maybe, and what I would like to ask is, do you really think your quote-unquote lady friend at Collective Shouts will notice you, or she's going to get with you? Do you really think she's going to do that for you? No, I don't think so. She put you in the effing friend zone, just to let you know. And if there are any real women in Collective Shouts who is listening to this right now, just to let you know that quote-unquote man or ma'am who is in the same group as you at Collective Shouts, he's not really there because he believes in what you believe in. He's actually there because he would like to get close to you, if you know what I'm saying.